So it is absolutely freezing in here, and that's why I'm going to be wearing a jacket. Just remember, I'm recording inside a shed, and so there's just a lot of inclement weather that kind of affects me. For example, it's cold outside, therefore I'm cold. I have a heater, but it doesn't really do its justice to keep everything in here warm. It can keep me warm, but it's no use to put it on right now because it's just going to make an unflattering noise near the microphone. It's also rainy outside, so you're gonna hear a couple of raindrops hit the shed, and it's just that's what that ticking noise is in the background if you do end up hearing it. But so that's why I'm gonna make this episode a little quicker than I like it to be, but that's okay. Where I live, it doesn't stay cold. It's only cold momentarily, so I can't complain. This episode, I want to talk about WrestleMania 33. The only WrestleMania I've ever attended. This was 2017. This was also another event my mom had gifted me for. I think it was for my birthday. My mom has pretty much helped me go to a lot of wrestling events. Not as of late. Not the past 6 years. The past 6 years of wrestling, I've been paying for the events and stuff like that. I promise I'm a grown man. I can pay for stuff now. But this was 2017, almost 10 years ago, but realistically 8 years ago. It's fascinating how quick time can go by. But WrestleMania 33, it had to be one of my favorite WrestleManias ever. But I just loved that time period of WWE in general. I feel like that product in that era was perfect, and I feel like everything that was going on was different. It felt new. I enjoyed the shows. I watched Raw and SmackDown more than most. I don't watch it now, and I used to. I actually. It got lost in a shuffle in 2015, 2014, but they had a couple of interesting storylines with the Authority, the Shield, Seth Rollins, the Evolution coming back together. They had a couple of interesting storylines. And Sting, my absolute favorite wrestler, Sting, he came to WWE. So they're primarily the reasons why I watched WWE at that time before 2016, 2017, but when 2016, 2017 rolled around, it seemed like they were doing different stuff. NXT was even incredible with the amount of talent that they had at that time. You can just go to the list. They had Aleister Black. They had all sorts of stuff. Shinsuke Nakamura and Bobby Roode. All these wrestlers that are mid-carded now, when they were in NXT, I mean, holy moly, they were just on top of the game. Samoa Joe, they had all sorts of stars that just I wouldn't have imagined to be under the name of WWE. And there they are in NXT, just absolutely rocking it. And then you got a bunch of good names on both brands just doing their thing. So that had to be my favorite time to be a WWE fan, was just that. I don't watch it now. I catch up on it on highlights, don't get me wrong, but I can no longer sit there for 3 or 2 hours and just watch the entire thing. It's all on my highlights now. And it's nothing against WWE, it's just I don't find the product as enjoyable as I used to find it back in that time era. And I'm not saying people don't enjoy it. Enjoy it. If you like it, watch it. I've certainly gone to recent events when they've come to town here. So that is how my opinion on the current state of WWE, but also the current state of WrestleMania. I was never a fan of when they did the 2-night thing. And I'm kind of happy I went to the WrestleMania for just the one day, and that was only because they only did it the one day. Granted, when I went there, the event was super long, but they did have little time slots where you were able to get up and use the restroom or get up and buy a beer or do whatever you need to do when you're at the show. But it is definitely incredibly long, so I can understand why they did the 2-night thing, but to be a fan and to do both, that's just a lot of money. Like, I believe the tickets it was higher up, not incredibly nosebleeds, but it was definitely up there and near one of the huge Trons, anyways. And I think that was expensive as is, a few $100s. I can't remember how much, but per ticket, I think it was like $300 or $400. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I don't have any tickets or proof of how much it was. I'm sure it's somewhere on the internet of how much people spent to be at the show, but it was hundreds just to be up there. You typically on a WWE show, it's hundreds to be closer to the ring, and like $40 to be like high up. But for WrestleMania, holy cow! I understand it though. Milk it, absolutely milk it. If you're running a stadium show and you know people are gonna show up, milk it. It's like Super Bowl. Even though, in my opinion, I don't watch football. I feel like it's all a fluke. Milk it. It's the Super Bowl. People are gonna go there anyways. It's a big name. All celebrities, all rich people, they're gonna go there. Milk it. $1,000 nosebleed seat. Why not? Screw it. That's the system. That's why I also don't care about going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, even if it was my favorite team, I would want to go, but I don't think I would spend a ridiculous amount of money over there. Especially in this current state of life, every year prices keep going up, and it doesn't matter if the economy is going up with it. It seems like it hardly is, but every year it seems like seats just get more expensive anyways. So what does it matter? The more the year goes by, the more I just don't care for it. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about my experience in WrestleMania 33. The only WrestleMania I've attended to, the one that happened in Orlando, Florida. 2017, what a great year. Great stories. Overall pay-per-view was great. The stage setup was great when they had a Universal themed stage. It was something that's never been seen before. And they've done a WrestleMania there before, back in 2007, 8, somewhere around there. And that was a pretty good WrestleMania too. But I feel like WrestleMania 33 has been very unbeatable, or at least it's one of those events that's super hard to beat in comparison to when you're making a WrestleMania. So, this was back in April. It was a hot, sunny day. Perfect day, if I'm being honest. It was an outdoor arena, so it's a sweat fest. I drove a couple hours down there with an ex-girlfriend. And this was one of my first times driving to Orlando. I didn't really drive to Orlando as much. But we drove there, and the parking lot situation was just a mess. Everything was everywhere. And a certain parking lot that I was designated at was a little hard to find. But eventually parked, dealt with the traffic around there. I hate traffic going around stadiums. That's why it's very hard for me to just enjoy a stadium show, because you have to deal with so much hassle. And one of the hassles when you go to any stadium show really is the parking situation. Like recently, last year, I went to a Chris Stapleton rock concert and George Strait. They did a collaboration, and they did it at a stadium. And we went there, but I tried my best to plan everything out, like in regards to parking and how we're going to do this. But just traffic and everything, I hate it so much. And I planned my parking out. I knew what I was going to do. The WrestleMania 33 parking, it was a little out of my control. I didn't really choose where I was going to park. Again, this was gifted to me. So I took a couple laps around the stadium just to try to find the designated parking, because I just had no idea where it was. As much as I tried looking at the map and I tried looking at the other parking, and we eventually found it. And then the crowd, as we're going in, everybody was just ecstatic. Everyone was so happy. There were chants outside. I can't remember what the chants were, but there were people cosplaying as their favorite wrestlers. There were people just going out there and being wild and having fun. I think there was a guy who was dressed up as Stone Cold, and he was just absolutely acting like him. They had plenty of merch stands almost spread it around the stadium. It wasn't hard to find a T-shirt or a hat. I actually got a hat. I have a WrestleMania 33 hat. But at the time, I was just a kid, and well, not really a kid, but I was super young. And at the time, they had all sorts of cool stuff, and I felt like the WrestleMania 33 merch was a great look. Like, I look at other WrestleMania shirts and stuff like that, and I'm like, eh. But I look at the WrestleMania 33, and I just like, I don't know. They did a pretty good job making the logos. They did a pretty good job just making designs for it. I give them an A plus, on everything on how they did about WrestleMania 33. So I ultimately got a hat. I wanted their jersey, but their jersey was expensive. But I settled for a hat. A hat was good. I think it was. I also like the only thing I could afford at the time. I only had like a part-time job at the time, and so I didn't really know too much about saving money and the importance of working. But I got myself a hat, and then I don't know. I can't remember if we got food or not. And then I may have bought my ex something. I can't remember. I think I got her a hat, but it wasn't a it wasn't a WrestleMania hat. I think it was the Bella Twins. One of them had a hat, and it was yeah. So we both got hats. And then I can't remember if we grabbed food or not. But basically, I was there from the pre-show all the way down to the Undertaker match, and I think I only had one restroom break. Normally, I've got a strong bladder, but there was no way I was gonna leave the event and drive for a couple more hours without an emptier bladder. So I didn't go until later in the show to use the restroom. But yeah, no, show was 10 out of 10. And my seats were closer to the stage as well. Like, I had a good view of the stage. I had a great view of the side ramp and everything. I was able to see everything and everyone, and it was just a great show. So let's go look at the card lineup here. We got 3 pre-show matches that we had, and surprisingly, one of them ran for 19 minutes. I'll tell you what it is. It was Neville, who was the champion of the Cruiserweight Championship. He defeated Austin Aries in 19 minutes on the dot. And Austin Aries just... that last person I would expect to be in WWE. So when he made his debut, it was like, oh, wow. We really got some people going on. Because Austin had a great TNA stint. And, I mean, this was before he did what he did after the fact, when he came back to TNA and then decided to just immediately get up and walk after taking a pin. This was sometime after 2017. I can't tell you when or how or why he did that. I'm sure he was not happy with creative at TNA at the time. Anyways, this was before Austin was a mess. So that ran for 19 minutes. Mojo Rawley, with Rob Gronkowski, I think that's how you say his last name. Formerly in the Patriots and the Buccaneers, basically Tom Brady's right-hand man. Mojo won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. That was actually 14 minutes. You would think a Battle Royal would be longer, but no. That was a good pre-show. I forgot who all was in there. I have it written down in my book. I'm just looking at the card on my screen here, but I can't tell you who all was in there. But it had some pretty good names, like Braun Strowman and stuff like that. And then the last pre-show, which is so weird to me that it's a pre-show, if I'm being honest. It was Dean Ambrose, who was the champion of the Intercontinental Champion. He defeated Baron Corbin in 10 minutes and 55 seconds. And it's so weird to think that was a pre-show. I remember earlier that year in 2017, it was January. I can't remember if it was the first or second SmackDown, but they came to Jacksonville. I was there with my ex as well, and we saw a great A SmackDown. And John Cena was there. I believe Dean Ambrose won the Intercontinental Championship from The Miz. And it was just a random surprise. It was a great show. It was a very hot crowd. And I just didn't really have any complaint. I can't remember too much of that show, but I do remember there's some good tidbits to that show. I'm sure when I make an episode of the podcast of just going through the history of my wrestling journey and like what all events I've gone to, I'm sure I'll remember. But yeah, no, Dean Ambrose won the Intercontinental Championship from The Miz on the episode of SmackDown. He carried it since, and he was just only on the pre-show for WrestleMania 33. It seemed like they had no creative stuff for him other than here's a title. And when you watch that SmackDown episode, it was like Dean Ambrose was just on top of it. But bring to WrestleMania 33, it's like they just didn't know what to do with him, I guess. I don't know. This was also when Baron Corbin had hair, and oh my god. Baron was just one of my favorite wrestlers in the SmackDown brand. He was just he had an absolute look to him. He had everything. He was a U.S. champion at the time, and it's just like now it's like he's not even with the company anymore. But he spent so long with them that it just seemed like they didn't know what to do. Oh well. I just hope Baron Corbin now is able to find success outside WWE, and if he does ever come back, that he will be bigger and better, and he will be a face of some sort of championship. I don't know. I just wish Baron the best. So we're going to go down the card here. WrestleMania 33 opens up with AJ Styles going up against Shane McMahon in one of a classic match. 20 minutes and 35 seconds. It was, I think it was no DQ. I can't remember. I remember there was the trash can, and then Shane McMahon doing his signature jump across the frickin' ring. Even at that time, Shane McMahon just wrestling, it just seemed like crazy and bizarre. He was doing all sorts of stuff. You know, it was jumping off Hell in a Cell, and I think it was next year's WrestleMania in 2018, or was it 2016? I can't remember. One of those years, he faced The Undertaker and decided to just have a good old yeet off the steel cage. I thought, or Hell in a Cell, I should say, to be more clear of what the cage was. It wasn't just a random steel cage; it was a Hell in a Cell. But he was on top of it and took a table bump, and it's like, sheesh, Shane, you are old. Calm down. And of course, you have his recent events when they were in, LA? Somewhere in California when they did that WrestleMania. And he just instantly, tear his quad? I think he tore his quad. I can't remember what it was. But he didn't even do much. I forgot what it was. It was something with The Miz. I think he was running, and then next thing you know, bleh. I can't remember what it was. It was a little bit of a mess. But AJ Styles going up against Shane McMahon, it was a pretty good match. I know Shane at the time did have some critiques to his wrestling, and he did need to work on his punches a little bit. But that was, but his WrestleMania 33 was good. And I rewatched WrestleMania 33. The commentators, oh man, it almost they sounded boring. They had multiple commentators through the show, but it was JBL, Tom Phillips, and David Otunga, I think. And yeah, they had different commentators, one for Raw, one for SmackDown. And then they had special guests come in here and there, Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. But oh my god, the SmackDown commentators just sounded boring. Oh, so I scrolled down a little bit more and I see the Battle Royal eliminations. And they have it all in order. And there was 33. Yeah, there's 33 contestants apparently. Now it doesn't say who's it's been eliminated by, but I can tell you who's been in the Battle Royal. We got Primo, Kalisto, Simon Gotch, wow, Heath Slater, Jey Uso, Goldust, Connor, Big Show, Victor, Braun Strowman, Kurt Hawkins, R-Truth, Rhino, Aiden English, Curtis Axel. It makes me wonder what Curtis is up to. Jimmy Uso, Jason Jordan, Chad Gable. Wow, those are two names. I know Chad Gable's doing good these days. Tyler Breeze and Fandango. I really liked Fandango, by the way. I wish they kept him as Fandango, and I wish I know he appeared that once in NXT a couple weeks ago. They didn't really do much with him other than appear in his TNA name. Was it JTG or something like that? No, it's not JTG. I forgot what it is. I'm sure if I click on his name, it'll tell me, give me a little bio description. I'll click on it to fix myself. After Fandango, Sin Cara, Mark Henry, Tyan Bing, I don't know. Epico, Bo Dallas. I need you to believe in Bo Dallas. That was something else. Apollo Crews, Dolph Ziggler, Luke Harper, Titus O'Neil, Sami Zayn, Killian Dane, Jinder Mahal, and then Mojo Rawley, who won the whole thing. Fandango, what is it? Was I close? Was I even relatively close? Let me scooch down here. I'm terrible, aren't I? JDC, that's what it is. Oh, Fandango's got some interesting ring names. Johnny Curtis, Jonathan Curtis, Fandango, Dirty Dango. I like Dirty Dango. And JDC. I guess JDC is Johnny Dirty Curtis. I don't know. I'm sure there's an explanation somewhere out there of why his name's been changed that way. If I scroll down, does it say anything? Probably not. Yeah, I don't care. We're talking about WrestleMania 33 here. Alright, so, carry on. After Shane McMahon and AJ Styles, let me scroll back to where I was. Alright, so, the next match, Kevin Owens defeated Chris Jericho to win the WWE United States Championship. This match was 16 minutes and 20 seconds long. Now, this had a good story to it. I know them two were best friends. Jericho was United States Champion, and of course, Kevin Owens defeated him for it. So, Kevin Owens officially became the U.S. Championship after that. What a win. Man, yeah, no, this was when Chris Jericho was doing the list. And let me tell you how over that was. Whether you like Jericho or not, at that time, Jericho in the list was one of the biggest things at that time. And the friendship with Kevin Owens was hilarious. It was just something people would be able to tune in and watch every week in and out. And so it was frustrating to see them two split because of how well they were doing together. They could have probably had a tag team champion run or something. And, you know, it was short-lived. And if they probably had it spread out longer, their friendship, it probably could have gone stale. So, in regards to perfect timing, it's close to perfect. I think a month or two of just being a tag champ would have, I think, settled it. Next match, we had Bayley defeat Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and Nia Jax in a Fatal 4-Way elimination match to retain the WWE Raw Women's Championship. This was when the brand split really mattered. I know they have a brand split now, but it feels like that brand split doesn't matter as much as it used to because you just have stars going from one show to another. It kind of defeats the purpose of a brand split. And I get it, Raw is like a 3-hour show. That's what they signed up for, and they need material. But I always thought, like, they should just cut back to 2 hours or something. They should really just focus on the people that they have and what they really want to put onto their show. But that's just my opinion. If people enjoyed the 3-hour thing, then fine, be my guest. But Raw was doing okay back in 2017, it seemed like. And it seemed like the whole brand split was just perfect at that time. And, yeah, that match ran for 12 minutes and 45 seconds. And this was when it was starting to get dark. And where I was sitting at, this was when, for whatever reason, WWE was doing this thing where they would shine lights into the crowd. And where we were seated at, there's this light that just kept shining right at us. And so we're looking down at the light. The light's looking back at us. It's blinding the whole show. Eventually, the crowd just started chanting, "Turn off the light." And they kept doing it for so much. Like, it kind of ruined this match. Because I don't remember too much from this match. But it ruined a good chunk of this match. We started to chant that because it started getting darker, and it was at that time. Now, I don't know if it was heard on the pay-per-view on the show, if people could hear it on the screen. This was different sections, too. We weren't the only section. Because if you're not blinded by the light, you're not going to chant, "Turn up the light." Why would you? But in our particular section, it was a big circle, too. So a lot of people were just chanting, "Turn off the light." And eventually they did. I think they did it halfway on this next match. And this next match, let me tell you, this was one of the biggest pops that I've ever been to. I've been to over 50, close to 60 now, wrestling events. And this was still the loudest pop to this day. And I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. It is Matt and Jeff Hardy. They have returned after, 8-year hiatus from WWE. And, wow. And it wasn't, people were expecting it, but some people weren't, because I believe the Hardy Boys just had a match with the Young Bucks to lose their Ring of Honor titles the night before or something like that. And so one of them, Matt or Jeff, they posted on Instagram saying it was good having a match, good being with the fans, we're home now, something like that. But they just came out of nowhere, just surprised. And I remember watching a little documentary about it, how they had to like really keep quiet and really like put on their hoodies and stuff like that, and really just kind of skimmy around in the back so no one sees them. Let it be an entire surprise. But let's pull out these big names here. It's starting to get rainier in here, so I'm sorry about the ticking noises. So the Hardy Boys, they returned and they defeated Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, who were the champions at the time. By the way, little weird that they got kicked out of WWE again, released, but it's whatever. They just keep getting released and then coming back, released, coming back. So I'm pretty sure they're going to do some and then come back a year or two later. But anyways, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson were the champions, and they lost those titles to the Hardy Boys. But Enzo Amore and Big Cass were also part of that match. And man, talk about a reunion. When Enzo and Big Cass reunited on a Jericho Cruise just a couple weeks ago, let me tell you, people want that. People want that. I just don't know what's the problem. I don't know if Enzo's just the problem, and that's why he's not signed anywhere. I mean, we've all heard of the backstage rumors and stuff like that about Enzo in WWE at the time. He was not pleasant to be around, and he just recently threw a little shade to AEW. So I don't think him going to AEW is going to happen anytime soon. So I don't know what he's doing. I mean, he's chilling, I guess. But let me tell you, Enzo and Big Cass, that little reunion, there's so much to it. And I feel like they could definitely do something with that, but I don't know. It feels like Enzo just kind of ruined it. But it's good to see Big Cass, Big Bill, whatever you want to call him. It's nice to see him actually doing something. It looks like he is genuinely happy in AEW. He's been a tag team champion over there with Ricky Starks, now Ricky Saints. I hate that last name. And it just seems like, he's going to do things. Because I remember, what was it, 2018, 2019? He had a seizure. He was in such bad shape at the time. And I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was a drug overdose. He was not doing good at the time. And he was not taking care of himself. And then he was able to just get up, get on his feet, seek therapy. He was able to find the woman of his life and get married. He was able to do all sorts of stuff. So, remarkable background story for Big Cass, Big Bill. I hope to see him have more success in AEW It was nice to see him as a tag champion. Hopefully, he gets more championship opportunities. He seems to be putting the guys over and just being happy. And it's awesome to see when he was in Australia and the crowd is going berserk. Just like how he went to United Kingdom for the Wembley. They did a Dynamite show and people loved him. I think it was Dynamite. Anyways, Cesaro and Sheamus were also part of that match, and it was a 4-way ladder match, and you can guarantee there's going to be a table spot, because how couldn't there be? It was an 11-minute match, by the way, 11 minutes 5 seconds, so it went by a little quick, but they definitely squeezed as much as they could, and the match was entertaining. Alright, so it's a little cringy, this next thing. But John Cena and Nikki Bella defeated The Miz and Maurice in a 9-minute 40 seconds. And no one really remembers the match, but people remember the proposal that John Cena did to Nikki Bella. And boy, did they certainly milked it on the TV show. What was it, Total Divas? Or did they have their own TV show? I don't know. They're doing all sorts of stuff where they're just absolutely milking it on their TV personality. And this was such a huge moment for both John Cena and Nikki Bella. Like, you would have thought like they would still be together today, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Adults do adult things. It's gonna happen. If you're unhappy in a relationship, get out of the relationship. You'll save a lot of time doing just that. But yeah, John Cena proposed to Nikki Bella, and that was basically the topic of WrestleMania 33. People talked about the Hardy Boys. Again, biggest, loudest pop. No one expected it. I'm sure people did. But that was great. So you have so many great moments in WrestleMania 33. It's just so much happened. While I talk about that, I also just want to search so I can refresh my mind. Who was singing? Pitbull and Flo Rida. That's right. I know Flo Rida was there. I just forgot about Pitbull. But they sang the halftime show. Yeah, I guess you can call it halftime. Welcome to My House. Oh my God, what a great theme for that WrestleMania 33. And who better than Flo Rida? I mean, it's literally in the name, Florida, Flo Rida. It makes sense. And the song was great. It seemed like you were going to have a great time, a fun time. And that's what makes WrestleMania 33 so memorable. It was just everything about it was just so great. Oh, I should probably also search up the Hall of Fame. Because that's also important to list who was part of the Hall of Fame at that time. Wikipedia, bright screen. I know Kurt Angle, was it? Theodore Long, that's right. Theodore Long was also part of it, not just Kurt Angle, Diamond Dallas Page, Beth Phoenix, and ravishing Rick Rude, who was inducted by Ricky Steamboat. I guess I should list who was inducted. I don't think it matters. But yeah, tag team to Rock and Roll Express, who won the Warrior Award was Eric LeGrand. I don't know her. Former Rutgers University football player, was paralyzed. Oh, him. Sorry. There was a small little picture, and it looked like a girl because he's got long hair. I couldn't tell. Again, it was a small corner, so I'm sorry if I offended you, Eric, but I don't think you were listening. I don't think anyone cares. Oh, man. Poor guy, though. He was paralyzed during the 2010 game against Army. He has gone on to become a renowned motivational speaker. So good on him. Honestly, that's good. Wow, yeah. So that is your inductees of the Hall of Fame: Kurt Angle, Theodore Long, DDP, Beth Phoenix, Ravishing Rick Rude, and Rock and Roll Express. Good stuff. Anyways, carry on. Of course, we have our next match of Seth Rollins, who defeated Triple H with Stephanie McMahon in a non-sanctioned match that went on for 25 minutes and 50 seconds. Long match. Definitely one of those long ones. But, oh my goodness, I remember Triple H's entrance, too, when he came out on a motorbike with Stephanie on the back. and it had a bunch of police just escorting them down the ramp. They're slowly taking their sweet time. That was a pretty good match as well. I forgot what Seth Rollins' entrance was. I know they had an LED ramp all the way down to the ring, and so I know they did some pretty cool stuff with the animations on that. Moving on. This is we're getting tired at WrestleMania 33 being there live. I remember, I believe it was around this time, we were sitting next to a couple of guys. I was not 21 yet. And a couple of guys, they're just handing me money. It's like, hey, could you get us some beer? It's like, no, I'm not going to get you beer. Go get your own beer. Even if I could get beer, I still don't think I would have gotten up to get you beer, because this was also during the middle of a match. I believe this happened during the middle of Randy Orton going against Bray Wyatt for the WWE Championship. Bray Wyatt at the time was the champ and then got defeated by Randy Orton. And this is... the match was going well, but I thought it was just interesting when they flickered the lights and then they showed creepy little things in the middle of the ring. Like one of them were like worms or something like that. And a couple of other images. But they did it periodically, like 3 times during the match. It was interesting. I didn't mind it. It just sucked that the match only went on for like 10 minutes. But they did have a good build. I remember Randy Orton burning some sort of what was it, a shed? It looked like a shed. I'm sure it was more than just a shed. It could have been a small little house. I remember that bit where Randy Orton was part of the Wyatt family, and I thought that was pretty cool. It was different. It was interesting. It was refreshing. It was nice to see just a Randy Orton version of the Wyatt family. Carry on. Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman defeated Goldberg in 4 minutes and 45 seconds to win the WWE Universal Championship. I never thought I would have seen Goldberg wrestle. In 2017, he was definitely older. And he was definitely part-time. I remember, what was it, SummerSlam? What was it? I can't remember what the pay-per-view name was, but Goldberg defeated Brock Lesnar in an ungodly time, like, 2 minutes or something like that? I can't remember. But people were going bananas for that. And then, of course, this quick little match happened, and it's like, so that happened. It didn't feel like too much really just went on. It's just a short little feud. I don't know. This was one of those, like, matches that felt wasted. Some people were into it, I guess. I mean, you look at 2 behemoths and you would think like 2 guys aren't going to knock each other out in a couple of minutes, but here they are doing just that. After that match, we had Naomi, who defeated Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Natalya, Mickie James, and Carmella in a 6-pack challenge to win the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship in 5 minutes and 35 seconds. So not a long match either, and it's interesting that they stuffed as much woman as they can. I mean, it makes sense because like they only have a couple of women matches, but they stuffed so much. And this next match, they only had 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Oh my goodness! And Carmella had James Ellsworth with him or with her. Never forget that. And then we go on to our main event. The main event of all things. It was Roman Reigns defeating The Undertaker in a no-holds-barred match. And you'll notice the trend of how this WrestleMania, there's a lot of matches, at least a good half of them, were just kind of no DQ. And it's not upsetting. It still made the pay-per-view great. There's a lot of spots that happened. There's a lot of things that happened. And it's great. It needed it. That was in 23 minutes, and I was tired by that time, exhausted. So this goes back to the argument. It's like, well, now I can see why they only do it for the 2 nights. You know, it used to be 1 long day, now it's 2 nights. But yeah, Roman Reigns defeated The Undertaker in a no-holds-barred match, in which at that time I would have thought Undertaker would have gotten it, but at the same time, it came to no surprise. And this was when Roman was really hated. No one really was a fan of Roman at the time. And so that's why the heel push was so well needed with the bloodline and everything. That's what made him perfect in 2020 and 2021 and so dominant, and why people like him now. He needed the heel push so that way he would be face. It's just like The Rock. Nobody liked The Rock until they started to appreciate him for all the things he did. And that's what I always thought to myself. It's like, you can't just force a baby face upon wrestling fans. They're not going to watch. They don't care. They don't want that. So, and that's all they've been doing for years after the Shield broke up. It's just push Roman, push Roman, push Roman. And fans didn't like it. And I guess just Vince never understood it. I don't know. But it was just perfect as soon as he turned heel. I don't know. Maybe that was the plan all along, was just to keep pushing him until he went crazy. I don't know, until he just started his own bloodline. Anyways, it was nice to see The Undertaker wrestle. I remember when he put his boots in the middle of the ring, you would have thought, man, that's the moment he retired. Because traditionally, when wrestlers put their boots in the middle of the ring, that's retirement. Undertaker did not retire after that match. He carried on to do a couple more idiotic stuff, like going against Shawn Michaels and Triple H in Saudi Arabia with Kane. That was a disaster of a match. It was hyped. It was definitely interesting. People wanted to see it, but maybe not the way that it had happened, when they're out of touch. They haven't wrestled in ages. And it's just an F show. That's WrestleMania 33 right there. I told myself, let's make this a quick episode. This was not indeed quick. This episode ran for over 40 minutes. I thought to myself, this episode's going to be 20 minutes. Surely, I'm just going to talk about WrestleMania. There's not going to be much to it. I'm just going to talk about my experience and call it a day. Nope. There's a lot of fireworks, though. Fireworks are pretty cool. Leaving the stadium, it's not as bad to leave the stadium as it is to go to the stadium. Like, when you're leaving, you have 50 routes to exit around. When you're going in, everyone's going in. So, leaving stadium, I'll take any day over entering the stadium. That's any event, though. I try to be tactical, even if I'm going to, like, an arena show. Anyways. That's the episode. Thanks for watching, and go to bed.